Welcome, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular town council meeting here in Chambers, and we are active on Zoom. Can I have a roll call, please?
Muted.
Councilor Bragdon, are you present?
I am present. If she asks for me, I can't hear her.
Thank you.
Councilor Danforth,
Present.
Chair Dumay,
Here.
Councilor Higgins,
He is absent and excused.
Councilor Madore,
Here.
Councilor McLaughlin,
She is absent and excused.
Councilor Pelletier.
Here. And could I please have everybody rise, uncover, and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Also would like to extend our speedy recovery to Councilor Higgins. He's in the hospital and hopefully returning soon. Mr. Manager, are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Just the addition that was sent out yesterday, the additional warrant.
The order for 234, correct?
Correct.
We do not have any approval for minutes. We do have an ordinance number 2-2023 for public hearing. This is the first reading of the amended chapter 75 General Assistance Code, Town of Millinocket. Council Madore, would you please read?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ordinance 2-2023, providing for amendment to the Chapter 25 General Assistance Code of the Town of Millinocket, compliance with Title 22 MRSA subsection 4305-4. It is ordained that the Millinocket Town Council, in Town Council assembled, that the Millinocket Code Chapter 75 Appendix A through H be amended per the attached appendix. Sorry. It is further ordered that this ordinance takes effect 30 days after enactment.
Second.
Motion made by Council Madore, second by Councilor Pelletier. Council Madore, would you please speak to the order?
This is something that comes up every year, Mr. Chairman. This has to do with our mandates for general assistance that set the guidelines and maximums that can be that the town can expend for different things like electricity, water, rent, household care, supplies, and other things. And every year we have to go over this and we have to update, and the updates are here. So if everybody's had a chance to look at them, they can see that they have been, the amounts that are allowed have been adjusted. Like for instance, if you have one person in a household, the weekly maximum for your food is 67 up from 65.35, and so on down through every item.
Thank you. Any other council comment? Seeing none. Go down to the public one for a public hearing. right?
No, it's a public hearing. Yes, you can.
Yep, I'm gonna go down to the public for this ordinance number 2. Seeing none via Zoom. Also seeing none back to the council. Thank you very much. There's no vote.
No, there's no vote. This is first reading.
Thank you very much. Now we move on to special presentations. These presentations we try to limit to 20 minutes. I'd like to invite Dr. Shelley Lane, Superintendent of Schools, to give her school quarterly financial update. Thank you.
Far so good, right? Thank you, Council, for allowing me to come and share the things that we're doing at Granite and Stearns. It's a real pleasure to share the things that are going on. I do not have this timed, so when you get sick of hearing this, just give me the signal and I will stop. Okay, all right, deal. So what I did is just wrote down a bunch of talking points, and I'll just kind of run through some. Some will just kind of be a quick through. If there's information here that, like if you hear me say something that you'd like more information on, reach out to me and I'll give you additional information. So the last time I was here to do kind of a talking point was on March 23rd. So a lot of things have happened since March 23rd. And a school system is much like a large business. It's very complex in so many ways. Change is sometimes uncomfortable, and honestly, there's been a lot over the year. But here are some of the results, and it is the result of the staff working tirelessly on the work that they do. At this time, we're all fully staffed. It's kind of a bit of a challenge sometimes for staff members to have less people than they once had. And sometimes they feel they need more people than they currently have. So there's a balance there between knowing the amount of staff we need in order to keep everybody safe and to implement programs for our kids. The staff has been seeking a number of grants. Our Katahdin is the most recent one, and you can see the fruits of that at Granite with some new basketball hoops, and there's more on the way. The last food service grant was $4,200 for some food carts, and we've had several of our staff members get donors choose. You actually may have received some of those emails that explain what the project is and then ask for donations, small donations, $5 or $10. And we're kind of on a roll doing some of those. We've also been working methodically through expenses and revenues per RHR with the recommendation from them last year. We've been working with the auditors for the to complete 22 and 23. They spent a couple of days at our school this last week collecting all kinds of data. We've celebrated a lot of staff and a lot of student successes. And we have recently been given $750 for the McKinney-Vento, and that's one of the papers that I gave you as a priority notice. This is the department's effort to help mitigate homelessness in communities of all sizes. Their goal here is that if you had a student who was deemed homeless in the last school year, then you receive $750. The guidance that we're receiving on that asks us to work with landlords in order not to have a family be evicted, to give them, one more month while they work on making, whatever their household changes are. I'm not sure. There's a lot of conversation with the superintendents, like $750 doesn't go far these days, and when we talk about rent, sometimes that's a person's entire rent, or maybe even not enough. So, but that's what that is. And that's an initiative by the federal government coming down to us through the state of Maine. Another one of the papers that I've handed you is a building inventory. And this is also through the Department in Maine, but it comes to us really through federal funding. And they have received, just a second. Get the number for you. They've received $670,000, and it's 100% supported by federal funds. What they're asking for is they're asking for all school buildings in the state of Maine to go through this 100-point data collection. They're sending out teams to our schools, and at the end, we're going to receive a report about what our facilities look like. I just shared this information with the school board recently, and I believe that in our schools, we have Louis, and Louis probably knows all these 100 points because he works so closely with every part of our building, heating and lights and siding and roofing, everything. But I think when they're done, the state hopes to have, the federal folks hope to have this database of what buildings look like across the country that are public schools. We recently had a mentor training. Heather Gersa has agreed to use a lot of her skills and knowledge in order to set up a program for our staff. to support first, second, and third year teachers. There's quite a funnel of teachers in the system. A lot of it happened during COVID time. It was very challenging in order to teach during COVID. And then when they came back, a lot of people just really struggled to like get the love back for being in the classroom. So it's been kind of a challenge. So we recognize that here in Millinocket, all grades pre-K to 12, that there used to be more supports in place. So Heather has agreed to, last summer, she went to a mentor training, like a train the trainer program. And then she's come back and she started doing training at our schools, both schools. So the last one that she did had 16 people present. And it's not rocket science, as they would say, because it's things like, how did your week go? What do you need? Are you having trouble finding this? You know, what do you need to support discipline? What do you need to support hands-on learning? What do you need to support place-based learning? Just helping with some of the language that new teachers may not be familiar with, and then also helping to learn the culture or the environment of Millinocket schools where they're currently teaching. That has been a really wonderful program that has started just recently. We're also doing some extra professional development. We're working with Core Souls, with Rural Aspirations, and with Katie Greenlee with Maine Math and Science Alliance. Both of those organizations are assisting Stearns for one set of goals. There's a granite for the other set of goals. And actually, we're seeing the fruits of it already with just new material and being energized with what's being shared. We're also adding some extra support to nursing. And by that is we're sending 3 people to be diabetic trained so that they can understand the symptoms, understand what a high is, what a low is, what it means to count carbs, so that there's more than one person who could aid a student or an adult if there was something that was needed in either school. So that's a really nice thing too. Recently, I went to East Millinocket and met with their police department. We're talking about having a more regular or not constant, not like every day, but more regular visits to both school systems. And students under are there to with a uniform, you know, take away that edge of fear that some have. Also, the increase in visibility like helps us like feel safe. And we're working on that. And along with that, we're working on some low cost and no cost safety measures for the system as a whole. Last time I was here in March, I shared with you our whole lockdown secure plan that we had, and we're continuing to go further on that, and we're ready actually to do a tabletop on evacuation. So we're making good strides in that direction. We also have a wellness committee. Sandy Brooker just went to a training where the organization gives us $500 in order to implement some wellness things in the school. It can be fun walks, it can be step challenges, it can be healthy recipe swaps, all of those things, and there's $500 to support that. So morale building, healthy lifestyle building in both of the schools, and that part is primarily for the staff, but we also have changed our policy for food into the school, making that healthier choices as well. There's a lot of parties, and we're not going anti-party. We're just going, how about, you know, cheese or popcorn or things like that instead of Little Debbie's. Not that we all don't like Little Debbie's, but we're trying to be good role models. Communication has increased from the Granite School out. You have the Granite Gazetteer. That is a contribution from each of the class grades, and that's going to go out once a month from our new principal, Miss Joanna Mary. If you haven't met her, I encourage you to stop by the school sometime, introduce yourself. She's really working hard for the benefit of staff and students. We also have some new programs happening at Stearns this year. They, Beth and Nick have worked hard to get some enrichment classes, makerspace, mock trial, open gym, writing lab. There's also conversation about increasing the rigor on the science fair, making that something that is more is test worthy, has rationales, has a reason why students pick them, instead of the whole idea of, how high does a basketball drop? Some of those things. So we're increasing that a little bit. The weight room is now open, and we also have a quiet space for the students who are taking college classes. They also put into place an advisee program. And this is a number that they're pretty proud of, the midterms that they gave just a couple of weeks ago. Last year at this time, there were 64 classes being failed. So not 64 students, but 64 classes. This year, same time, with the midterms, there's 30. So some of these initiatives with advisee, and the Stearns time that they've put in have cut that in half. They're saying that's not enough. It's not good enough yet, but it certainly is going in the right direction. We also, Beth had mentioned, I think we might have mentioned it to you, that we're doing the dual enrollment. So we have Bruce McLean and Anna Loom who are actually able to teach college classes. So the students will get a high school credit and a college credit. And what we currently is computer applications and accounting, 2 classes, English 101 and comp. So as our first year offering, we're offering 4 college classes right out of the gate. So we're pretty pleased with that. Our freshmen are working with this. That's a grant. It was around $20,000. It's to help build career and academic readiness. Those students now, the freshmen, are working on building a portfolio so that by the time they graduate, they will have a portfolio that has grown and shown their growth over the 4 years, and will hopefully help them as they go into the workforce or go into college or military. It'll give them a stepping stone that's already built from there. We have 2 school board members, student school board members. Grayson Sanders has returned. She was our junior member last year. She's our senior member this year. And just this week, Haley Eldridge was accepted as the junior at the school board meeting. We have a college tour going on next week. That's part of the Melmac grant as well. There's 24 students attending, and they're going, I have a schedule here somewhere. They're going all the way to Portland, and they're making multiple stops at multiple schools. And Beth wanted me to make sure and say, at every school, there's a Stearns alumni. So they were pretty impressed that that was going to happen. Pretty exciting. Through the year test is the new state annual testing, and that is what that you have is color coded. So if you look at this and have some questions, you can reach out to myself or to Ms. Mary at Granite. These are just Granite scores at this point. But if you look, like we want long green, the dark green, we want lots of that. We don't want a whole lot of the red. And we will then compare this to our fall scores. They have just started, the 10th and the 11th, they started. So we'll be able to compare. This year, right now, these scores are going to be used to drive instruction. So teachers will have results right away so that they can tailor their instruction moving forward. And this through the year is just the second testing because it's put out by the state of Maine. This is the choice for them that they selected for us. But the good thing is it's based on the NWEAs, which we're really familiar with all across the country, actually. So teachers were okay with having it switched to through the year because they know that they can get student data and it's really specific. Are you having trouble with percentages? One-to-one correspondence. It's very specific so that they can tailor their classes. At this point in the year, we are 14% through the school year, and we have 16% of our allocated money. And that's pretty normal because at the front we're still picking up supplies and things that will last through the year. So that's looking pretty good. At our school board meeting coming up, it's school board training, I should say, there are some unfunded mandates that are going to be discussed. And the school board met this week and we went through them all. because we have to vote on them, like our school board votes along with the rest of the school boards in the state of Maine. So there's everything from teacher evaluations, to, Department of Education leadership, to board meeting remote participation, career and technical education. There's several things for career and technical. There's staff relationships, there's professional development, and I could go on. There's pages of this. But the board was very clear that when we vote representing Millinocket, that we don't want to accept unfunded mandates. It's, there's some things that look pretty good and it would be nice, but it's one more thing that we would have to fund and have to figure out. So, that's gonna happen in another week too, and that's normal. This is an annual voting. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, so I just thought I'd throw it out there that it's something that happens every year. International, we have currently, we have students from France, 2 students from Spain, and who is coming Monday morning from Guatemala. So we'll have 5 students total, and this noon, we actually got 55 students to our dual enrollment program with, I say it wrong, Jashuan. It's that we have the dual enrollment with, but more students is $1,000 per student less in the new taxes that they've got. So that puts us at 166 students, and that's wonderful. The numbers pre-COVID, like around, let's say 19 and 20, was at Lorraine we had 13, and at the Jaunet school we had 14, and then there was nothing for a couple of years. So this is an amazing rebound, and we had a lot of these students last year as well. So I would have to have okay. The fall musical is currently being worked on right now. It's Willy Wonka, and students participate from every cast, school and high. The number surged this year. We've got 14 people on the high school team, so that's pretty incredible too. I wanted to mention that all across the country, and this may not be new to you, but all across the country, I guess anticipating, trying to figure things out before it happens. Why 24 cliff coming with all of the federal money. And so I've been doing some research on what school systems are doing, how they're handling it, how we make our priorities, because we now all across the nation have been living on an influx of money. And that influx is going to go away. So we know there's going to be adjustments. So what I brought, not that I'm going to read them to you, but everything from right here in Maine, the Portland Press here, to larger places like Washington, D.C. And this Chalk Beat is a online editorial type situation. And it's just, they're everywhere. And I just wanted to plant that seed that, this is something that we're going to have to manage, and it won't be just us. It will be all across the country. There'll be, I don't know, some change. Let me see, I'll skip a couple of things. I just wanted to say out loud that Magic City Monthly is wonderful. I'm so appreciative that they're including us as a department in that monthly publication. We're having fun submitting information, and it's a real delight to see it out there. And actually, I've heard a lot of comments about it, so thank you for that. We talked before about the summer program that runs at Granite. It ran very successfully with a lot of students this year, and that was primarily paid for with the summer school programming grant for FY23. So that's a great thing. As of today, actually, the school improvement grant was changed from status of pre-approved to approved. So that is well in the works, on the way. We added a module to Tyler Tech for receivables so that we have an accurate and detailed look at all of our receivables. So that report will look a little bit different to you when we get that. We're continuing to get reimbursement for title and local in title expenses. That's 2 separate grants. We're all up to speed to June 30th of 2023. And right now, we are waiting on $26,000 to come in that we found hadn't been expended from SR2. SR2 had to be expended or set to be expended by a certain date. And we just got notification that we're all set with that. So we're waiting for that check to come in. So that's a good chunk of money for us. Anthem Health Insurance is all caught up. And there was some overpayments in the system. So we have $21,000 coming back for that. I'd also like to say out loud that Kama Mishu has been managing our payroll since early April, and she deserves a lot of credit. It was a steep learning curve, and she managed it for all of the staff. We're having conversations with several people who want to use space in the school. Kids Piece contract runs out this summer. And so we've been talking about how that would look. In the past, it's been 1-year contracts. And before Mr. Boynton left, he had a 3-year contract. But they're asking for us to consider 5. So they're very happy with the facilities. They're certainly easy to work with, and that helps both them as a safe, good, convenient place, and it also helps us for revenue. So those conversations are happening. And then we also have 2 other outside groups that have approached us as recently as this week to see if they might be able to use some space. So we're just beginning to have those conversations to see what we have for room, what program they would be looking at, and what their needs would be. I can be done. I'll say, yes, I'm good. Let me just tell you a couple more things. That's how I am at meetings, right? I just wanted to tell you what our enrollment is. It's 449. If you wasn't aware, that's a pretty good number. We have 28 students going down to Region 3. So that's a good number. And we have 17 students coming to us from the unorganized territories.
That 449 for both schools.
Yes. I told you about that. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate.
If you're talking education, I could go on. So if you ever want to know anything, stop by my office. I'm happy to share education.
Thank you for that invitation.
You're
Do
welcome.
we have any council comment for the presentation? Council Danforth?
Yeah, thank you. You always provide really great information and it's intriguing. There's so much going on. My ears perked up a little bit when you talked about there's a wellness program for staff.
Yeah.
And then we mentioned the weight room was open and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I was asked, so if the school is going to be open for community walking,
Yep.
is that something that's open and something that we can share?
Yes, absolutely. Last year we opened it up once the got colder, icy snow, and it was successful last year as far as just having people, when you go in through the second door, you just sign in, mostly for safety, so we know who's in the building, and I let the custodians know. But yeah, we had regulars. I got to know a bunch of people last year while they were walking. Yeah, absolutely, we can do that.
So I facilitate a diabetes prevention class for the hospital, and some of those members were asking, and we
Yeah.
promoted it through the hospital in the past. So I'll connect with you. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we can. Connect with me, and then we can see if you want it to start sooner versus later. Because last year we just waited for the bad weather.
Council Madore?
Thank you for the presentation. I was looking at your spring of 2023 results. And one of the questions that I have for you is I see, especially when it comes to math, which I'm very, very involved with, or was, that our math level scores seem to stay fairly, at least as far as meet state expectations, stay fairly well 3rd to 5th grade. But the reading between 3rd and 5th grade, which is also something I'm very passionate about, seems to the meet expectations is more, but those that do not or fall below or well below or, you know, seems to drop dramatically. And I was wondering, what factors do you consider when you see something like that?
That's a great question. A lot of factors, actually. You look at, the configuration of the classes, these groups have roughly 40 students in them. So like, are they supported with title services? Do they have IEPs? Did somewhere along the line, did Granite Street change math programs? So we're looking at a curriculum. We're looking at some easy assessments so that teachers can do them, and we can see if they line up with this through the year testing. Miss Mary, the principal there, is a past special ed director.
Okay.
So she has a toolbox like no tomorrow of ways to figure out what's happening. And at their last October 6th, the full day meeting, they actually did an assessment of where kids were and what they compared to where teachers thought they were. And she said that it was really very eye-opening because they thought the correlation was attendance. Like, this child is not doing well in math because they have high attendance absences. And they actually realized that that was not true. So they're really digging down deep to see what's affecting each student's learning process. And the good thing about the through the year is that in just a few hours, it's 48 hours after the student takes it, the teachers really can look and see where the diagnostics are, where the real problem is, and then they have a path to go on to improve that. So there's more to come with this. These results that you're looking at are the first ones that the students have taken with through the year. So they even had to kind of get acclimated to how the test operates.
Yeah.
We're hoping that the test that's happening right now is going to be a little more familiar to students. So we'll see some really accurate numbers. We're hoping. We'll take a look at that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
The other thing I saw when you started your presentation, you were talking about grants and things. You had mentioned the outdoor basketball courts, which, by the way, look very nice.
Yeah.
And the project, I understand, is ongoing. I also saw where Miss Gersa is involved with the robotics through Arcatad to raise money for a robotics team and a robotics lab. Well, I'm glad to be able to share that information with you at this time.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I saw that it was posted on social media and through Arcatad that they want to raise about $10,000 for a robotics team and robotics laboratory for Stearns High School.
Excellent.
So, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. So
Yeah.
I just thought I'd throw that in there too. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
those are great programs. Yes. You're
If it's
welcome.
on Facebook, it must be true.
I
Counselor
know.
Bragdon, do you have a comment?
Yes, I have a comment and a question. First, I want to start off by thanking Dr. Lane and her staff for the continued open communication that we've been having and mending the relationship between the council and the school. It's been rocky the last 4 or 5 years. And when she came on board, she was really open to communication. And I've talked about it multiple times, but I genuinely do appreciate it. You have no idea how much it's made a difference this last year. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Second part, I don't know if you mentioned it. I have really crappy reception and I apologize, but I was curious if the school is still offering Upward Bound, UBMS and TRIO programs at the school.
I haven't seen a TRIO representative there, and I actually just asked that question probably about 3
Hey, Shelley.
weeks ago.
Say that.
Oh, yes, I'm saying it to myself. Yeah, Matt, I actually about 3 weeks ago received an email from the Gear Up program. And so that made me think about whether or not we had Trio in Millinocket. It's looking like we don't have, that, but I reached out to the Aroostook representative, Ken, who I worked with at Katahdin, to see if there's a representative here in Millinocket and how we get to participate, because that's a wonderful program for helping students. And there's a financial reward for it too. So I'm looking into that, but I just started that 3 weeks ago.
Perfect. I love the program and I hope it continues. And that's why I mentioned it. It was very eye-opening for me and some of the students I was with. So I was hoping that it was still active at Stearns. So I appreciate you looking forward or looking into that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Council Brad and Council Pelletier. You all set? Like to open it up to the public? Any questions or comments for the superintendent? Name and address, please.
There we are.
Sandy Sullivan, 104 Sunset Drive. I do not attend the school board meetings. However, I do Zoom every one of them. And I don't know if the general residents of Millinocket are aware of how much grant money this school goes after. They have made major repairs on that school that the Millinocket taxpayers do not have to shell out money for. The elevators being rebuilt, a lot of major costly repairs. I'm simply amazed every time I listen to the meetings how those buildings are taken care of. I know the students are important, but they have to have the buildings in order to have the learning. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Any other public comment or question? Via Zoom, seeing none, back to the council. Thank you very much, Dr. Lane.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Like to move to special presentation, Charter Review Committee, proposed charter changes. Councilor Bragdon, you have the floor. Try to keep it to 20 minutes or so.
I'm going to do my very damnedest. I apologize again for not being in person. I've been in Augusta for the last day and a half. So I will be doing this from Zoom. I did not intend on doing this, but this is how it's going to be. First off, the Charter Review Committee consists of Louis Pelletier, who is the chair of the committee, Richard Ngati, who is the vice chair. Me as a council member, I am the scribe/secretary, and for the other council member, it is Robert Higgins. And then public members, we have Sandra Sullivan, who is here with us tonight, Mr. Motery, and Wally Paul. Little history. I've been a part of this program for about a year. I've been working on the charter for 2 years, 1 year independently and 1 year with the Charter Review Committee. This last year, we've made some great progress with the group that we have. And if either Sandy or Louis wants to jump in at any time, please just make me aware because I can't see you guys while I'm presenting. Important information for those that have not received the document outside of the council. Blue is the color of additions to the charter that are not currently part of the document, and red is the color of items that are in the charter right now that we are suggesting that we delete. We also have a strike through, so it's nice and easy to read. Also a note, there's been some confusion. We are strictly making suggestions to the council. We have not changed anything yet. I've had numerous people call me and suggest that we're doing things that are illegal and that we've gone way past what we're allowed to do. We are simply making suggestions to the council, and that is it. To start off, I'm going to read the sections that I have, and I'm going to stop after each one if any of the councilors have a comment, and then I'll take public comments at the end. That way we don't get sidetracked. For minor changes to the document, we have general neutral changes, which are the majority of what we changed in the document, to include both male and females. We also have Town of Millinocket and State of Maine added throughout the document for clarity. And we have shall to will to have a more demanding feeling to the document, which you will see if you read the charter. Shall gives more of like an open interpretation to some of the items, where will is more, you need to do it this way. We did a lot of grammar and sentence structure changes, and we had several minor additions to sections throughout the documents. An example being, we added a section where we could have renter or housing boards in the future. Very minor changes like that, things that are open in the future to be added on. So, any comments on the minor changes before I move into the big ones? I can't
No,
see you guys anymore, so I don't know if
No.
you're raising your hands. Okay. Major change number 1, qualifications to C202. Counselors will be qualified electors. The town of Millinocket will reside in the town of Millinocket during their term of office and will be a registered voter of the town of Millinocket during their entire term in office. To possess any of these qualifications, or is convicted of a felony or crime involving moral turpitude during their term of office, their office will immediately become vacant. That's how it would read with the changes. The red, again, minor changes. We got rid of councilmen, changed it to councilors. We had town of Millinocket, and the big changes to this was they had to be a registered voter in the town of Millinocket during their time in office. And we added that if they are convicted of a felony, their office will immediately become vacant during their term of office. That's the important part. Any questions?
Continue.
Also to point out that this is the same way it reads for the school board on C402. All set?
All set.
Please move forward.
Thank you. Major change number 2 is C204, emanations of power. Without limitations of foregoing, the council will have the powers to. The biggest change was to section D, where we added town council will also have the authority to place a department head on paid leave until an investigation is completed. And then 2 minor grammar changes. Any comments or questions?
No.
Major change number 3, C205, compensation. We eliminated the part where it talks about $15 for each council meeting upon attendance, $800 per year in full for their services, $20 for each council meeting upon attendance, blah, blah, blah. We changed it to the council will set the compensation of the council throughout the budget process annually, which consists of 2 budget workshops and 2 public hearings. It is a major change. It's extremely outdated. I've heard a slew of things about this, but I think it's important that every council has the opportunity to make suggestions and hear from the public on what the public feels we should be paid. Any comments from Sandy or Louis on this topic? I know this was a hot button one.
Never enough money.
Any comments from the council as a whole?
Please move forward.
Number 4, C301, the big change to this outside of the grammar changes and gender neutral changes is we added that the town manager needs to become a resident within 100 nautical miles of the town of Millinocket or within a safe commutable distance within 6 months of accepting their contract. This is another hot button topic that we went back and forth on for a couple of meetings. We decided ultimately that being within 100 nautical miles would mean that they could get to Millinocket within a safe reason and still be able to do business and give them a place to live, whether it be in or outside of town. Any comments?
Please move forward.
Major change number 5 is C405, powers and duties of the board in preparation of budget. Big one to this is the school board will prepare budget estimates and details of several sums required during the ensuing budget year of the support of the public schools. A draft budget will be provided to the counselors and public prior to the school board budget workshops to be sent out with a public notice of workshop. Big part about this is the council and the public getting notification before the meeting and not at the meeting. Any comments?
Please move forward.
Number 6 was the actual layout in the charter for the school's budget. So you can see the changes that we made. It's right in order of what they sent us for a list. I will talk further in the next couple of slides about us meeting with the school.
Thank you.
Any? Number 7, C405, duties and powers of the board. We added a new part that said all filings of grants requiring cash flow encumbrance will require previous notification to the manager and town treasurer. This is basically a communication thing, just making sure that if there is any money that the school is going to need from the town, that the manager and the town treasurer have time beforehand to make preparations so that the council can be aware as well.
Thank you.
Number 8, C508, transfer of unencumbered appropriations. The school unencumbered appropriations will remain in school budget as a carryover amount and cannot be spent until audited. This one's kind of self-explanatory. We faced this a couple of years ago. Now we have it, so it's in the charter, so it's more clear and cutthroat on what actually needs to be done. This is the part where I'm going to talk. The school, we had a meeting with them. They were invited. They came to one of our meetings. They agreed to almost every single item. There was only one that they didn't agree to, but legal said that it cannot be modified anyway, and they were okay with that. So all of the changes that we have suggested, the school has had input on.
Please move forward.
Number 9, C601, Division of Assessments. We added Section B, which would read Millinocket property revaluations will occur in accordance with State of Maine Law, Chapter 208. I want to point out that this is a placeholder for legal to put in the proper terminology in the section of the law. Chapter 208 does talk about property reevaluations and the laws and stuff, but to make it more clear, we are going to suggest legal put in the proper terminology for that. So that is more of a placeholder than anything for when we send it away.
Thank you.
Major change number 10, we changed C1010 from reserve to municipal document review. We added sections A, B, and C. An informal review of the town of Millinocket charter will be completed at a minimum once every 10 years, sort of the same format we're doing now. B, an informal review of the town of Millinocket zoning code and subdivision ordinance books will be completed at a minimum once every 10 years. And C, an informal review of the town of Millinocket comprehensive plan will be completed once every 5 years. Major reason for this is exactly why we're sitting here tonight. Some of these documents haven't been touched in a very, very long time, some that are older than me, and we wanted to prevent that from happening in the future.
Thank you.
And any questions on any of the major changes we just talked about? From the public or from you guys?
I have a question.
I have an answer.
Either counselor can address it. Have you been lockstep with legal on all of this to make sure that this is done properly and legally?
Me and Bob Higgins had a meeting with legal on some of the changes that we wanted to do. We're just simply making suggestions. We had asked him about a couple of the items we were talking about, and he basically told us what we're doing and the way we're doing it is fine. But ultimately what happens is, and Louis, correct me if I'm wrong, we give this to you guys approve it to go into a commission, and then another group of people outside of the charter review committee basically looks at this document and decides, if our changes are good, if they want to throw the whole thing away and start fresh. And there's a whole process outside of that goes on after that. Did I miss anything, Louis?
In order to change the charter, there's one or two ways of doing it. And as I've stated once before, I don't believe any of these changes rises to the level of a revision of the charter. And as such, that's when it kicks into having to elect commissioner and a board and go through that legal process that ends up with, public meetings and then going to a referendum vote. I believe, we'll find out after legal review, if the council wishes to send it there, that they are all basically amendments and that can be handled much like our public hearings on, 2 readings, and we vote it in. That way the public has a chance to talk on changes then as well.
Thank you. So in short, this is just the first step of the process and
Yes.
of several steps.
The council will have to direct the manager send it to legal to review, and the second section of the, not the charter, but the code is legislative, general legislation, like all the positions that carry out what we're saying in the charter, how it happened. I'm sure they'll have some time and changes to those positions and how things happen. Meet the changes that we've suggested. You know, if they're okay to make, I mean, if something is totally against the law, they'll let us know.
Thank you.
So that's why I need to go through legal, and then we have a clear sailing as to which way to go.
Correct.
Thank you, Council Pelletier. Thank you, Council Bragdon. Do we have any other council questions? Seeing none down to the public? Name and address, please.
My name is Wallace Paul, 56 Eastland Avenue. My friends call me Wally. I hope you will. I've been a member of this committee, and I agree with all the changes that have been proposed and suggested. And I want to say what a pleasure it was working on that committee. It was a reasonable group. Every change was debated in the classical sense. The phrase devil's advocate was used a lot so that we could bring up points that might not be our own, that we knew that other people in town would have to say about that. So we talked about things as thoroughly as we could. And it was such an enjoyable an intellectual exercise as opposed to most of the emotional discussions that go on this day and age. It was fun. It was a good group, and I enjoyed myself, and I'm happy with the results of it. And getting to watch Councilor Bragdon do word processing alone was worth the price of admission. The guy is really something. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. And I also want to add, I want to thank you as a councilman and as a chairman. Thank all the efforts that you and Ms. Sullivan and everybody else that worked tirelessly on this thankless job to work on a living document for the rest of the citizens of Millinocket. Is a service, volunteer service that will not go unappreciated. So I want to say thank you.
Well, thank you. And getting to meet Sandy Sullivan was a treat for me too. She's an intelligent, articulate person, and actually changed my mind on one issue. There was something I was sitting on the fence on, and when she was done talking, I thought she's right. And now I agree with her. So it was a good, strong process that came to this conclusion for us. So I wanted to say that. Thank you.
Any other public comment or question? Seeing none via Zoom, I can't see if anybody has their hand up via Zoom or not, but I'll assume no. Well, if we have nothing left from, Council Danforth.
The only other thing I had is if anybody had any questions about any section of the charter that was not mentioned tonight. I know that the document's 70 some odd pages, so I wanted to make sure I hit the whole thing. If nobody has any more comments on any section of the charter.
Council Danforth.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So my question is just process next steps. I know Councilor Pelletier, you just said, are we just waiting to hear what legal says, whether it needs to go to, an amendment or a revision, and then you're going to come back and tell us what legal says, or do we need?
We're waiting for the council to pass an order to send it to legal. When that happens, they'll review it thoroughly. Not only summary issue that you just mentioned, but as I said, there's other parts of the code that may be affected by the changes that we're making. They would have to suggest those changes to keep it there.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just further clarification. So the only thing that I've read through is what was presented here tonight. So in what Councilor Bragdon just said, there's more to it. This is a larger document. Is that something that I need to look?
Oh, the code?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's a lot more boring.
Right.
So
right.
this is the charter on the screen. I don't know if you can see it yet, but this is the entire document, and there's numerous changes to each sections that you can see that are in red and blue. at the very, very end, right after C-34, which is on page 70 something, you start going into, or page 52, my bad. You start heading into the code, which has upwards of 300 to 400 pages. So yeah, this document was considered a breeze if you even take into consideration the code that hasn't been touched.
Yeah, so a lot more of a look.
There is a lot more. Thank you.
Want to be on that committee next year?
Thank
Councilman Dorr, anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just ask that since we've had the presentation and it seems like there doesn't seem to be a lot of, council discussion as far as any, questions or changes to what has been presented, that we move this to an order to send this to our legal counsel to have this reviewed and get back to us as soon as possible.
I think an order for the next meeting would be appropriate when we have a full council.
I agree.
Thank you.
If that's all right, Mr. Manager. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, counselors, for your presentation. We will move on to the next agenda item. I'm going to take things out of order. I'm gonna move to-
Mr. Chairman, before you start, I have to leave. I need to get back on the road. I'm still about 2.5 hours away from home, so I apologize, but I have to go. I'm gonna try to join on my phone where I can, but I want to thank everybody tonight for letting me present.
Thank you.
you, Matt, for going above and beyond.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna move to order under new business. I'm gonna move to order 242-2023. Approval of the IT bid services. Council Madore, would you please read?
I will as soon as I catch up with you. Yes, I'm ready. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Order number 242-2023, providing for approval of LT service bid award, service bid award. Whereas the town of Millinocket posts a request for IT service bids, receiving one bid from current provider Main Technology Group, it is ordered the Millinocket Town Council awards the attached 2023-20 through 2027 bid and contract to IT service to Main Technology Group.
Second,
Motion made by Council Madore, seconded by Councilor Danforth. Council discussion on the order.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
after reviewing the proposal and everything, I believe that this is, I think we've got good service with them. And again, I think we'll be able to go ahead over the next 4 years to be able to provide adequate service to the town of Millinocket and to go a little bit above and beyond. So I'm very happy with this contract.
Thank you, Council Madore. Any other council discussion? Mr. Manager, this is the same Main Technology Group that we have been getting our service provided by, correct?
It is, yeah. Not only were they the sole bidder on the service, but you know, the relationship is strong. It's gone on for years at this point. And we're very deeply intertwined with their company, given that they own and service almost all of the technology in our building. So, you know, we're very happy. There's clearly an increase in the bill for that service. We've added things over time, and the cost for service since the contract started about 4 years ago has increased. You can see in the comparison chart where we have been, where we would be if they weren't treating us so with so much kindness. You know, because it was a shock of an increase, but they worked with us to get that price to a more attractive area for us, and you'll see that basically cut that in half for the new rate. So, you know, I'm very pleased with it, and I hope.
Thank you. I understand there's a representative here today.
Miss Monica is here from
you like
Main
to speak?
Technology Group.
Approach the mic, please. For recording purposes.
She'll take. She.
Oh, she drove all this way. Gotta have something to say.
Just one click of
We do it? How's that? Thanks. So on behalf of Maine Technology Group, thank you very much for the opportunity to serve the town of Millinocket. We've had a relationship since 2018. And part of what's driving the cost increase is that we've had a relationship since 2018 and we haven't revisited any of that stuff. So during this period of time, I'm sure that you counselors and everybody else in the room here has heard the steady sort of drumbeat out there on the wind about cybersecurity and the increased threats and how municipalities are targets. And all of these things have necessitated that Maine Technology Group over time improve the tools and the staff and the expertise that we bring to bear to address some of those kinds of problems. So we've continued to layer on tools over time, and we have not increased the rate during that time. So one way to look at it is that you've been receiving some service without having that cost passed along to the taxpayers in the town for a while. So, and we're trying to continue to work with you to keep that reasonable, understanding that we're all operating with constraints, but we do also need to sort of balance to make sure that we can continue to deliver quality service. We're delivering hardware as a service to the town, as Peter said. So we're holding the responsibility for making sure that the equipment that the town uses is all maintained and upgraded on a regular basis. And so that the town doesn't have to deal with that. You have sort of a more predictable spend month in, month out, year in, year out, as opposed to, some spikes if a piece of equipment suddenly has to be replaced, that kind of thing. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Certainly, thank you. Any council comment or question? See, it was a good call. I'd like to thank you for coming and speaking tonight. Any other public comment? Seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor? 4-0 unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, he did. We're back to our original program. And we're gonna invite the manager to give his report.
There are, aren't you? All right, so I am in line with the school. We're continuing our quarterly financial updates at the same rate. So I'm going to go through our year-to-date spending at a pretty high level. I did provide a detailed report of year-to-date spending within the council packet. Can see looking through this that, we're just one quarter into the year. There's a lot that has not been addressed yet. There are quite a few expenditures that only happen once a year. So you'll see that there's a lot of unspent dollars, and that's pretty natural this time of year. I'll just point out some things that could look concerning with some explanation. So most of the first page here is all pretty standard. Go down under the assessing department. One who's so passionate about math as Counselor Madore had mentioned earlier. He might notice that there's a lot more spent out of that budget line than would normally be expected this year. As you know, the Tax Stabilization Act had caused a lot of additional time in the office, and then all of the preparation for the reval and for the tax commitment this year, especially with the technology failure that we did have at one point in time. That has resulted in a need to be here a lot more often. So we're just going to be cautious about how much time the assessor spends in the office for a period of time. She does have we're going to keep an eye on that and I don't see that being an issue throughout the rest. Just gonna dial it back for the next several months. Most of her work is done at this point now that we've committed the taxes, so feel that'll be safe. If we go onto the second page, the one item I had highlighted to point out would be the computer support. And the reasoning there is just to identify that we are going to have to, once we sign the contract with the new bidder, the increase in price that we just talked about, we'll have to adjust this budget line a little bit to make sure we have enough to finish this fiscal year. And then we'll budget accordingly for the additional 2.5 years of that contract. If we go to page 3 there, you'll see a new section altogether, town revaluation. That's an adjustment to our budget and to our expenses that was identified in order from our last council meeting. That was previously budgeted funding that was held in a different box, and we just simply moved its location into the operating budget here. So you'll see that as a change in our budget. Code enforcement department, we're going to see a pretty big decrease in spending there for a period of time. As we, have done some shuffling around in that office as we lost our most recent code enforcement officer to the fire department. So we're going to see some savings in that department throughout the rest of the year as we look for a permanent there. When you go down, this is the first kind of major negative you'll see represented. That is on 6002, the Brownfield grant that shows on this report that it's about $5,000 in the hole. That's just simply because we have expenditures from that grant, have not received money, but we did pass an order to cash flow that until the check is available, later this month. So that could be concerning, but there's really no concern. On the next page, everything's pretty standard. Slight overage on training in the community initiatives director that has to do with the leadership class that they and the town clerk are going on right now. There was a change in the cost of that program. And we did receive some additional grant funding to cover a portion of that. That just has not been received yet. So that'll come out in the wash, but we did expect that to be. You'll see about a $10,000 negative next to 3775 pool skylights. That is also not a concern. That's reflected through our local ARPA funds. That was approved projects for that. But the revenue of that shows up in a different. Everything for the next couple of pages is as it should be. Yes.
Before we jump far up, looking at fire and ambulance in general, 0117 fire chief. I know that's a newly created position. Fire over. How will we obviously budget for fire? How will we train now?
So
That going to be part of the code enforcement balance, unspent balance, over fire department?
well, I've never been more pleased that your mic wasn't on because I don't think there was anything that you said that was relevant. So sorry, that was okay. So the assistant fire chief position was a temporary position. That position no longer exists. code officer just went into a regular full-time crew member position on that team. So this was a way to use those unspent funds intelligent towards this position. So those are no longer available. And you'll see that with the fire chief line, it also appears that we've only spent $2,000 past month. So, you know, that's all playing into the one person's salary.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question
Sure. Can't wait.
concerning the Little League Dog Park, minus 6241. What's the deal with that?
That's that's also ARPA funding, but that's the only amount of money that we've spent toward that project since the beginning of the fiscal year. Everything else showed up in FY23.
Thank you, sir.
I could see how that would be alarming. Also, the $15.12 up there. So yeah, page 6. Couple of sections there. Huge unspent amounts under insurances. Those are usually paid in the late spring. Fringe benefits, that goes along with payout of retirement benefits and you know, other things while people retire. We did have to pay out a couple, you know, this year so far, back in July, and then just recently this month. We have a little bit left over in the over on page 7 on the roads and paving, the road paving and construction line. I've had a couple of conversations ahead of time. The DOT has identified one of our bridges that are left that needs some additional repairs, and it needs to happen sooner than later. So we plan to spend the rest of that line, and if we are unable to find it in another spot, we're going to be looking for you know, some additional funding, but it's something that's absolutely necessary and needs to happen you know, within the next couple of weeks. So we will work through. And then you know, other negative balances you see through there are grant pass-throughs. And on the expense side, see the airport business. That is all inventory that gets sold, and we see the revenue on the second report. So I'll close the expense with that. Move over to revenues.
Any other questions from the council on the expense portion? Thank you, Ms. Manager.
So on revenues, everything is exactly how it should be. In fact, is a bit more favorable than we would expect at this point in the year. Especially with main revenue service, that's coming in a little strong as well. I'll call your attention to the revenue from the planning and code development budget section here. You see, we had only dreamed of about $2,000 worth of permitting fees, and it's a little over $10,000 represented on here. And you know, the impact that's shown there is mainly from one big construction permit from one of the more substantial developments happening in town. So you know, this is a good representation to the townspeople that as these new developments happen, it impacts our budget and our revenue for our town good way. You know, this is $10,000 and that's just from one permit. So more development, more permits is one thing, and start paying taxes as well. And that's how we get a lot better. So moving over, page 3 on that. The airport business looks healthy on this. That's the revenue from the fuel sales, avgas and jet fuel. I'll even add to that new numbers were brought to me today by the airport manager. There's about $24,000 worth of revenue to be added to these totals. You know, he's returning to work after some time off, and excited to get those in here and reported and reflected next update. So the business at the airport is thriving, and things are going great over there. Really pulling in some revenue. Everything else looks exactly as it should, and I'm very pleased to say that.
Any other council comment on the revenue side of the manager's report? Seeing none, down to the public. Also via Zoom. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Order number 234-2023, Councilor Danforth, would you please read?
Yes, order number 234-2023, providing for execution of the town warrant for October 12th, 2023. It is ordered that the town warrant for October 12th, 2023, in the amount of $947,022.48 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Danforth, second by Councilor Madore. Any heavy hitters?
Yeah, I'll share some. 20,000, Adam Quayle Incorporated, that's for some sand and salt, getting ready for the winter. $20,884.28, Ascent Aviation Group, that's for aviation fuel. $397,654, and that's B&B paving. It's been done in the community. $12,002.13, Dysart Service. Stephen Lucas, $9,500, and that's for some painting, striping, for our roads, double yellow lines, white edge lines. $20,925.94, Maine Municipal Association, Workman's Comp. $37,714.86, Maine Water Company, our water bill. $15,521.72, Municipal Waste Solutions, that's waste disposal. $25,503.29, Northern Timber Cruisers, and that's the pass-through ATV grant. One more large one, to the town of East Millinocket, $350,380.14, and that is payment for 2 quarters for our police contract, plus $175,049 per quarter, plus some recreation supplies and $282 to get up to $350,380.
Thank you, Councilor Danforth. Any council comment on this order? Seeing none, down to the public. Via Zoom, back to the council. All those in favor? 4-0. Order number 235-2023, Council Danforth, would you please read?
Excuse me. Yes, order number 235-2023, providing for execution of the wastewater warrant for October 12th, 2023. It is ordered that the wastewater warrant for October 12th in the amount of $6,698.79 is hereby approved.
Second.
Motion made by Council Danforth, seconded by Council Madore. Council Danforth, any heavy?
I'll
hitters?
just mention a couple. $1,577.36, that's to Workman's Comp. And $1,896.25, Pierce Atward, that's legal fees.
Thank you. Council discussion on this order. Seeing none, down to the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor? 4-0. Order number 236-2023, Council Madore, would you please read?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Order number 236 twenty twenty-three. An order providing for a general obligation bond for upgrades to the main pump station. Be it ordered that under and pursuant to the provisions of Title 30-A, Section 5772 of the Maine Revised Statutes as amended and chapter of the town of Millinocket, Maine, a capital improvement project consisting of upgrades to the main pump station, including transaction costs and other expenditures reasonably related to the project are hereby approved, and be it further ordered that the sum not to exceed $1,665,000 is hereby appropriated to provide for the costs of said project, and be it further ordered that to fund said appropriation, the treasurer and the chair of the town council are hereby authorized to issue a one-time or from time to time general obligations securities of the town, including callable securities with or without premium and temporary notes in anticipation of the sale thereof in an aggregated principal amount of $1,665,000. And it is further ordered that the discretion to fix the date, maturity, denomination, interest rates, place, payments, forms, and other details of said securities, including execution of delivery of said securities against payment therefore, and to provide for the sale thereof is hereby delegated to the treasurer and the chair, and it is further ordered that the town hereby irrevocably pledges to use user fees, rates, assessments, and other charges of the town for payment of debt services on the bond. Further ordered that the town hereby makes a general obligation pledge of its property tax revenue to be used in the event that the sewer and storm water rates, user fees, assessment, and other charges levied on and paid by ratepayers are not sufficient to meet the annual payments of the principal and semi-annual payments of interest on said securities until the debt created by the issuance of the sale of said securities is extinct.
Councilman Madore, would you like me to suspend the reading of the rest of the order?
You son of a gun, yes.
Second.
Any council discussion on this order? Seeing none, down to the public. Via Zoom. Seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor?
I have to by now.
4-0. Order number 237-2023. Counselor Danforth, would you please read?
Order number 237-2023, providing for approval to carry forward fiscal year 23 unspent budget items. It is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council approves the carry forward of $22,090.40 for the following unspent fiscal year 23 budget items. Number 1, Public Works Road, Winter Sand, E0407-2802 in the amount of $9,383.60. Number 2, Public Works Road Paint and Supplies, E0407-2803 in the amount of $9,660.68. Number 3, Holiday Observation and Events, 4th of July, E1106-7010 in the amount of $1,660. And number 4, Holiday Observation and Events Committee, E116-7012 in the amount of $1,386.12.
Thank you, Councilor
Second.
Danforth. Motion made by Councilor Danforth, seconded by Councilor Madore. Any council discussion on this order? Down to the public. Via Zoom, back to the council. All those in favor? 4-0. Order number 238-2023, Council Pelletier, would you please read?
Order number 238-2023, providing for approval of amendment to the town manager employment agreement. Whereas the town and managers are parties to one certain employment agreement, the agreement by which the manager is employed as the town's town manager, and whereas it is the desire of the parties to amend the agreement to provide performance evaluations twice a year rather than quarterly. Now, therefore, it is ordered as follows. 1, that the amendment of employment agreement hereafter called amendment attached to this order is approved, and two, the chairman of the town council is directed to execute and deliver the amendment on behalf of the town, and upon execution of the amendment by Mr. Jameson, the town clerk is directed to file the original amendment with the employment agreement and the records in her office. Provide Mr. Jameson with an attested copy of the agreement for his records, and provide a copy to the human resource director for Mr. Jameson's personnel file.
Second.
Motion made by Council Pelletier, second by Council Madore. Council discussion on the order. I will have a brief comment. I think this is something that we intended to do previously. Between the council, we had discussed this, and for some reason it didn't get followed through. I particularly like this section where we will be doing evaluations in October and 6 months after that in March. That'll provide the council that is presently here and not an incoming council to evaluate a manager that they don't know much about the performance. So I think that is a much needed portion to this. And thank you, Mr. Manager, for agreeing to it. Saying that, down to the public via Zoom. Back to the council. All those in favor? 4-0. Order number 239-2023, Council Madore, would you please read?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Order 239-2023, providing for acceptance of Winter Kids Downhill 24 Outdoor Fund Award. Whereas the town of Millinocket won first place during the voting period for the Winter Kids Downhill 24 Outdoor Fund competition for the Millinocket Ski Tow project, and whereas the town was awarded $10,000 as the first place recipient. It is ordered the Millinocket Town Council approves the acceptance of $10,000 from the Winter Kids Downhill 24 Outdoor Fund for the Millinocket Ski Tow project.
Second.
Motion made by Council Madore, seconded by Council Danforth. Council Madore, would you please speak to the order?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this was something that was taken on by our Community Initiative Director, and certainly is going to be a great asset matched with what we did previous council meeting to provide, make sure the funds are there. I think the plans for having the ski tow reestablished at Recreation Complex, having a warming hut there, I think it's all going to go ahead and enhance the opportunities for summer, winter recreations for the children of the town of Millinocket, and maybe even some adults who dare to go ahead and try to go and do some snowboarding or some downhill skiing. Council Pelletier, to do some downhill skiing or whatever. So yes, I think this is great. Congratulations to Amber Wheaton, our PID person, and congratulations to all involved in the project.
Any other council comment? Seeing none, down to the public. Back to the council. All those in favor? 4-0. Order number 240-2023, Council Danforth, would you please read?
Yes, order number 240-2023, providing for approval of street closures for Halloween festivities. It is ordered that the Millinocket Town Council approves the following street closures for Halloween festivities. Close Massachusetts Avenue from Heritage Drive by the Faith Baptist Church to New Jersey Street from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Tuesday, October 31st. Close Independence Lane at Massachusetts Avenue intersection, and close Aroostook Avenue from Summer Street to Central Street in the lower end of Westwood Avenue to the Nazarene Church for trunk or treaters. And, oh, no, the request came from our Health and Safety Officer.
Second.
Motion made by Council Danforth, second by Council Madore. Council discussion on the order. Council Madore.
I think this is a great opportunity. The Millinocket has started to go ahead and really turn the corner as far as creating a safe zone for children to go out and trick or treat safely within our community. I think closing Mass Ave, kudos to the people who live along that section, who do a great job every year setting up for Halloween, trick or treating, and really give the kids a really great experience along there. And of course, the trunk or treats have been a godsend for a lot of people to know that they can take the children, and the kids seem to really enjoy it. So congratulations to all involved in this, and I think this is a great opportunity to move forward and provide a safe environment for a great holiday.
Any other council discussion? Seeing none, down to the public.
Oh, okay.
Tom, would you like to speak on this, or does your letter stand for itself? All right, back to the council. All those in favor? 4-0. Order number 241-2023, Council Pelletier, would you please read?
Order 241-2023, providing for approval of EV charging station project proposal award. It is ordered the town of Millinocket that the Millinocket Town Council accepts the proposal for the EV charging station project from Pine State Electric in the amount of $11,300 and approves work begin immediately.
2 bids received.
2 bids received, Pine State Electric, $11,300, AA Electric Service, $43,480.
Second.
Motion made by Council Pelletier, seconded by Council Madore. Any council discussion on this order? Council Pelletier.
Yeah, there's a big difference in bid, and there's a big reason for that. The amount of work entailed that's not depicted in the second bid concerns me, and I wonder if it's the Public Works Department that's going to pick up that work, or are we gonna subcontract it somewhere else?
Mr. Manager?
The difference is the convenience to the location that Pine State Electric is suggesting within that parking lot. There will be significantly less additional work. No trenching and all that sort of stuff.
That's making it sound like they didn't bid on the same exact package.
We did not identify the location within the parking lot in the bid that got put out.
So I guess my question would be, would AA Electric Services bid be competitive if they had known where it was going?
I do not know what they would bid if they chose a different location within the parking lot.
Why did they choose and why did we not specify? I mean, that's a big difference in bid, and some doesn't seem right.
It sure is a big difference. That's the,
And the
I
details.
can't speak for the contractors that
the-
bid on it.
The
Counselor.
details given here for the $11,000 bid lists some materials. And the electrician, a lot less money. I imagine what the other one is. I just don't know enough about it to understand why such a big.
Sounds like it was, if I may, it sounds like it was subjectively left to the bidder to design the plot.
I mean,
If I try to compare them,
look at the, Counselor, all respect granted, please. Look at the bids for what's the other one we're awarding tonight? The Penobscot Avenue drainage infrastructure. That ranges from 300,000 to 800,000. Contractors are not always going to be on the same level at the same rate. I think this is really overstepping a boundary here.
that
Nitpicking what the contractors are doing for work and how they present their bids is not
well, I
my
certainly
responsibility.
don't think trying to understand difference in bids, and how it was presented, overstepping any boundary.
Thank you for sharing your feedback.
Council Madore.
Yes, Mr. Manager, when the bid proposal was put out, it was put out uniformly, right?
Correct.
Okay, so as long as the bid proposal itself was put out uniformly, how the contractor then interprets that is their purview and not the town's. So you had two different bids here is the way I see it. You have two different bids here, both with the same guidelines to go by. One comes in, more than, about more than three times as much as the previous one, but that's part of the bid process. Much in what we have seen in other projects, there's a range of bids. This is the range for these two bidders, so. But as long as they were both given the same guidelines to what the project was, everything should be fine. Thank you.
Any other council comment? Down to the public? Announce yourself and your address, please. Yes,
This other comment on, 241,
correct.
Yes,
I urge you to vote, this, of my. There, and they're not apples and oranges, they're a banana and a blue. They're no relation. Necessary to accomplish the project. The no digging, no concrete means that somebody else is going to have to coordinate the town, as Mr. Pasabetti said, Papa, who is gonna coordinate, who's gonna form and place the concrete, where are the bollards coming from? That's why I say it either has to get revisited or not accept the 11,300 because it's just a small fraction and the cost of the rest of the work not included has not yet been determined or any estimate. It could be $10,000 more, $20,000 more, 30,000, which would bring it up equal to the other proposal, which details all of the work involved in the installation of the 4 EV chargers. So I urge a no vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Lori Haskell, 125 Prospect Street. I was going to say the same as Louis when I see at the bottom of Pine Street Electric. Digging and concrete work done by others. There's nothing about patching the hot top. This is much more detailed than this.
Thank you.
The location suggested by the Pine State Electric bid is at the back of the parking lot. There is no need to dig and trench or spend any additional funding. Pine State Electric did approach our Public Works Department about assisting in the pouring of the concrete foundation, which, if this is approved, it is allowable for us to use some of those grant funds to offset the additional unplanned man hours for the labor associated with that project. It's a very minor amount of additional funds.
Thank you for that explanation. Is this your understanding? What's that?
Can I be recognized?
Absolutely. I was gonna say something, but
So you've just made my point. There will be work expected by our staff. And I'm wondering, has there been given any real valuation of how much and what it's gonna cost? And hey, I'm all for paying 11,000 versus 43 and using in-house work. And it sounds like you're saying the difference bid is because one bidded on one location and the other bidded on a different location for the same unit. I think that's the big difference that's causing that big a discrepancy.
That's correct. And I'll throw out another point.
So in the RFP, was it stated where the location was going to be?
No,
Or
it
just left that
identified
open?
the parking lot
Apart.
that it was going to
And
be
so they
placed.
chose a more frontal exposed area versus one way back.
Correct.
You have anything to add to your answer?
Well,
The
Yes.
only other, I would add, if you were, the higher bid is far outside the budget for this project, given the funding that we received from Efficiency Maine and the funding we had allocated towards it from the residual of our community development block grant. Should you choose the higher bid, that would need allocation of more taxpayer dollars, or well, really any, there are currently no taxpayer dollars into this. It would require the allocation of taxpayer funding to be pulled from the unassigned fund balance and put towards that project. And I don't see that as necessary.
Thank you, Mr.
My-
Manager.
my whole concern is it smells like a tainted RFP process. If both contractors were told this is the location, might be a whole lot of different bid price there.
And respectfully, I disagree. It's not a tainted
and-
RFP
and
process.
Is there any pressing timeline deadlines to have this done now?
Well, it was supposed to be done in June, so
I
this
mean,
would
from
be
the
helpful.
financing, is there any repercussions from the financing?
Yes, we lose our funding.
As I said, smells like a tainted RFP process.
All right.
And that is incorrect.
Okay, let's move past that. Any public discussion? And yet, we're still into public discussion. Anything from the Public Works Director? You good? And back to the council. All those in favor of order 241? 3. All those opposed? 1. Order number 243 2023, Council Danforth, would you please read?
Order number 243 2023, providing for amendment of order number 322 2022. Whereas order number 322 2022 accepted the quote from, how do you say that, Hanel?
Close enough.
Panel.
Hanel Brothers to repair the roofs on both the municipal building canopy and elevator entrance and improve the expenditure of $9,275 of local American Rescue Plan Act funding to pay for the repairs. And whereas doing the job, Hanel Brothers determined the amount of damage to the structure was more than anticipated, leading to replacing more of the structure than originally planned, an increase to the invoice for work and an increase to the invoice for work in the amount of $1,816.95. It is therefore ordered that the Millinocket Town Council amend the totals in order number 322-2022 to read $11,097.95 for the repairs, which will leave an uncommitted ARPA grant balance of $39,410.54 as of this order date.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Danforth, second by Councilor Madore. Council discussion on this order. Seeing none, down to the public. Also seeing none, back to the council. All those in favor? 4-0. Order number 244 2023, Council Pelletier, would you please read?
Order 244 2023. Providing for award of Penobscot Avenue drainage infrastructure replacement bid. It is ordered the Millinocket Town Council, at the recommendation of Town Manager, Public Works Director, and Oliver Associates, Inc., Environmental Engineers, award this bid to Blue Silver, Inc. at $393,000. Bids received: Blue Silver, $393,000. Key Buck Construction, $681,411. Emery Lee and Sons, $732,000.
Second.
Motion made by Council Pelletier, second by Council Madore. Council discussion on this order. Seeing none, down to the public. Also seeing none via Zoom. Back to the council. All those in favor? 4, 3, 4, 4, 0. Reports and communications, Warrant Committee for October 26, 2023 council meeting will be Council Higgins and Council Madore.
All set.
Depending on Council Higgins' situation, we might see the clerk to fill his spot. We'll handle that at a different time. Council Madore, you're qualified.
Yep.
Chair Committee reports. You have
The charter review will
you have some,
meet 10:18, Town Manager's office if available, not Zoom only probably, and just to continue with the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council Madore?
Yeah, the Economic Development Sustainability Committee will be reviewing the bid proposals for the design phase for the community center that was received. We had 5 bids that were received. Again, a wide scope in the amount of money that was bid on the project. But certainly we, as soon as we get everything together, we'll be having a meeting, public meeting to bring everybody up to speed and go on from there.
Do you have any additions or subtraction? Members?
Yes, I'd like to go ahead and add Counselor McLaughlin to the Economic Development Sustainability Committee, as well as Amber Wheaton and our CID person here in the community, and as a person, another member of the board, a voting member, I would like to ask Michelle McGinnis, who is not only a citizen of Millinocket, but also working for Arcatad. I think they would make a great additions to the board, and I would look forward to having them, as well as having 2 at-large members, non-voting members, which would be Randy Jackson and Gilda Stratton.
Have you had them filled out the required applications?
Amber has filled out her application, and Michelle, as far as I know, has gone ahead and gotten the application, but I don't know if it's been received by the town yet.
Well, what I'm gonna do is I will wait for confirmation of those applications
Okay.
and make sure they're received, and we'll approve that at the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anything from you, Jane? Thank you. And right now is the 2-minute public comment. Please announce yourself, name and address.
I'm Malcolm, 73 School Street. I'm just want to make a reminder that Saturday morning we'll be doing, Purple Iris is going to be here, and we're doing a Crushing Cancer Parade. At 9, lineup is at 9:30, parade's at 10 o'clock. And then after the parade, there'll be activities at the Highlands Tavern, different activities going on. This is all to support cancer awareness in the state of Maine, across the state. So anybody that would like to participate in the parade, or please turn out to watch the parade. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malcolm. Any other public comment? Going once, going twice, looking for a motion? Motion made by Counselor Fedor.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Danforth. All those in favor? 4-0. Have a good evening, everyone.